What's up, guys? We're back. So is the Tribal Chief. Should we say the OTC1, as he is now being referred to, right? OTC1. The new merch is available. Go get it now at a WWE shop near you. The original Tribal Chief 1, we got to remember to add that in now, because that's what he's going to be referred to as. Made his big return on WWE Raw tonight. You guys know, we usually don't do many Raw reaction shows, but coming out of what a fun weekend that was, we talked about it. Evolution, best show of the year in my opinion. WWE, if you didn't see our reaction show last night, let's keep the momentum going. Let's talk about this big edition of Raw. Coming off of, again, a very noteworthy weekend with multiple big stories coming out of it. Naomi cashing in, the Seth Rollins injury, which we'll talk about a little bit, but I've actually got a video coming tomorrow that I've already been working on that I have for you guys tomorrow on what I think about this whole debate. Is the Seth Rollins injury real or is it not? I've got my answer now, which may be a little different than the answer I had yesterday. But there's your tease for tomorrow. I'm going to work on that. But we'll talk about it, I'm sure, here as well. You guys jump in. Lots of you jumping in. Anytime we have a Roman Reigns return, which we do that once every, 6 months or so now. A lot of you like to jump in and talk about it. So that's what we're going to do. If you are jumping in for the first time, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Helps out the channel. Check out all the other stuff we've got here. But yes, all of you, hold them up in the chats. Let's hold them up. Get the emojis going. Hold them in the air. The ones are out for Roman Reigns, who kind of what we talked about yesterday. I think that was one of the things we talked about in sort of the after show, if you will. After we talked about Evolution, there's some questions about how do you do this tonight on Raw, right? And we said, I think it was something where, to me, the logical thing was, if you're going to set up a scenario, and this was definitely the case once they announced the gauntlet match, it's like, hey, you pretty much know at that point, if you're going to announce the gauntlet match and Breakker's in it, Punk's in it, it only made sense to get to those two as the final two. And then, like I mentioned, like we talked about last night, from there, pretty simple, right? Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, they gang up on CM Punk. That brings Roman Reigns back. And here's what I liked about it. I'll be honest with you guys. And I wasn't even thinking about this at the time. But what I liked about it was that you added in Jay. Because why is that important? You saw at the end of Raw, Reigns is specifically talking to Punk, saying, hey, nah, I didn't come to help you. I came to help Jay, and I came after Paul Heyman. That's what he did at the end there. He's looking at Jay. He's kind of talking to say, hey, he's the reason I came out here. And then, he's looking to Heyman in the aisle and saying, all right, don't think this is anything to do with you and I being on the same page, right? They want to keep that tension going between Punk and Reigns, which I like, because you don't want to just immediately, just go away from that. So, yeah, that is definitely something that I liked about sort of the way they did it. And remember, we said, no matter what your thinking is on the Rollins thing at this point, whether you think we're getting worked, whether you think it's real, seriously, I would have to think that somewhere along the way, whether the Reigns return was scheduled for Saturday or it was always going to be this, any way you slice it, right? There were multiple options with how you could do this, but now I think you're clearly looking at something to where this is a pretty big development no matter what, and that's going to lead to more questions, because now we know it's going to be Punk versus Gunther, just like we talked about. I think, obviously, that was going to be the match. It seemed like they had been teasing after that one little interaction. You're just thinking it makes sense. First two-night SummerSlam, you want to do a scenario. By the way, too, I'm laughing at this comment from Josh. Couldn't wait to go live. Yeah. I actually had the opportunity to do so tonight. Again, I don't get to do that most weeks for Raw or SmackDown, but we just had a lot of momentum from the weekend, and I know you guys want to talk about it. And again, anytime we come into, a Roman Reigns return, we got to talk about it on the channel. You get me? So, no, but in all seriousness, yeah. But again, now I think you've got your matches set up. You've got Punk versus Gunther, which we all sort of expected, and I think it's interesting because you guys have kind of pointed out some different options for what do you do with Roman Reigns, right, at SummerSlam, if it's not Seth Rollins, which this is where the whole thing with the Rollins injury, to me, there are so many ways you can look at this, and you can convince yourself one way, and then you look at the other way, and you're like, wait a second, it doesn't really tie into this over here, though. And so you would think, if you're WWE, Roman versus Rollins is a big-time headlining match for SummerSlam. So I can't ever imagine that was not the plan. But now, the way they're going to do it, you guys have asked. And I know one of the comments I'll bring up here in just a second. And if you are just joining for the first time, keep in mind, this is not your traditional Raw review. We don't go through every single match, and I give you a move-by-move breakdown. This is simply us reacting to what happened. So this conversation will go a lot of different directions, as usual. You guys bring up in the comments what do you want to talk about. But come on, the OTC 1 is back. And so we're going to talk about that. But I know the Hustle Hard podcast here brought up some ideas. And we were kind of debating this last night. If you're not doing Roman versus Seth, which clearly they're not now, is this something where you have either Reigns versus Breakker, or do you do a tag match? Do you do Roman and Jay versus Braun and Braun? Braun. Do you do that, right? I mean, that seems like something you could do. And we were saying, if you looked at it, clearly Roman versus Breakker is the bigger match. And, I think that's obviously the biggest match of the group. But I think if you're looking at it like, okay, which is the stronger appeal, right? Is it Reigns versus Breakker plus Jay versus Reed, or is it Reigns and Jay versus Braun and Braun? That's kind of the question. I would prefer the one-on-one matches versus the tag team match because, again, you have to fill 2 nights, and I think when you looked at the way that they kind of set this up, everything was around Jay and Bronson Reed in this match, where, the interactions they've had recently, Reed took him out, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, I would think you want to do the one-on-one matches. That would be my opinion. But of course, we've still got Cody, we've got Cena. They announced a lot of stuff for tonight too. Keep in mind the women's triple threat. We'll talk about that. And so, by the way, I'm just gonna laugh at this comment from day one, and I always laugh at it because I'm like, I get it now. Like I've looked at the photos, I know. Like the Eminem twins, like that's you guys always relate me to Mr. Eminem, but. It's kind of funny. Like we started from day one back early last year. Those were the comments I was getting. I can't rap like Eminem, but I can sure tell you about Roman Reigns returning. So I always enjoy those comments. But again, you got a lot of you guys jumping in. Again, anytime we talk about Roman Reigns, no surprise. But I think when you consider Cena and Cody, again, whatever combination you've got with these 4 guys, with Roman, Jay, Reed, Breakker, you've got Punk versus Gunther now. Come on, we got Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. That's got to be at the top of your list. We got the women's triple threat that was added. You've now got Becky versus Lyra. So the card's filling up pretty well here. You're probably going to get Aleister Black versus Damian Priest. So they pretty much got all these matches in place already. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much everywhere on this card now. You've got a lot of matches that have been set really in the past, 72 hours or so. You've pretty much built the biggest parts of your entire card. And that's what, like we mentioned, they kind of had to because the show's not that far away now. So, yeah, so I think that's kind of what we're going to look at. So, all right, you guys, again, weigh in with your thoughts on Roman Reigns returning. What do you think it's going to be? You think it's going to be Reigns versus Breakker, or do you think it's going to be a tag team match with Reigns and Jay against the other 2? What do you think? I prefer the one-on-one route, but yeah, we'll see. And I know the questions continue to be asked, what's going to happen with the Money in the Bank briefcase? Well, I'm going to give you my theory on that in the Seth Rollins video tomorrow of what I think may happen there. But as Paul Heyman said, Seth has up to a year to cash in. So that's notable. I am not of the belief that you are going to just hand over the briefcase to someone else, because I don't think that is the Paul Heyman or Seth Rollins way. I don't think you're just going to hand it over. So, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's keep going on here and see what else you guys want to talk about. Remember, the easiest way to make sure I get to your comment, leave a nice super chat. And if you are jumping in for the first time in a while, which I know some of you are, keep in mind I've mentioned too, if you want to follow the podcast feed audio-wise, I'm starting to do some kind of more frequent audio-exclusive stuff, which you can jump in and listen to that. I kind of did that with the predictions for all these big shows this past weekend, including the AEW All-In show. If you want my thoughts on that, you can get it as well. And if you want to join the membership tier, which a lot of you guys starting to jump into the membership tier, I appreciate that. You will get some bonus exclusive content here as well on the YouTube channel. So you can do that. And one other quick plug before we go into everything else. Come on, I gotta pay the bills here, right, guys? One other quick plug: if you want to follow everything, as I said, my writing and all that stuff, and all my thoughts on everything, you can do it on Twitter/X. You can find my link right there at WrestleBlake. Follow me over there. Some of you guys did that yesterday. Appreciate it. Always fun interactions with you guys talking wrestling on there. All right, here we go. So Abby weighs in. Going to also go with the Roman J versus Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker idea there. And yeah, I know Michael has some thoughts on kind of what do you do, maybe the Seth cash-in possibility. You got Gunther and Punk now. There's just so many ways you can go about this. And like I said, I think I will have a better idea as I try to sort of wrap my head around this whole kind of scenario with Rollins and maybe what we're looking at here, because I'm sure you guys have seen there have been so many conflicting reports now. And to me, there's one of these reports that really stand out. I actually had a chance today to go back, watch the segment again, watch the match at Saturday night's main event. Plus, I watched the Triple H press conference, and I think there were some things in there that kind of gave us a better idea of maybe where we're at on all this. But I'll give you some thoughts on that tomorrow. But for now, let's talk about some other stuff here. And again, what you think is going to happen heading into this big show now, Saturday. At SummerSlam. But yeah, I think we're going to see Lorenzo. I know, always a regular here, jumping in, also going with the idea of maybe doing the tag team match, and any match Roman's in, that can be a headlining match. But really, too, I mean, you can look at this now and feel like it's kind of hard to envision Roman not being in a main event at SummerSlam, but you've got pretty much two easy main events if you want them, right? You've got Punk versus Gunther, and you've got Cena versus Cody. I mean, those are about as good as it gets in one-on-one sort of title matches right now in WWE. And so I think those could easily be your headliners, and maybe you lead off one of the nights with Reigns and Jay if they do the tag team route, or the singles match, a Reigns versus Breakker. But that could be one too, depending on, again, what we think of the Rollins injury. You may save Reigns versus Breakker for another time. But like I told you guys, I just don't envision Reigns having more than probably 2 more matches this year. In all honesty, I think he'll be at Survivor Series based on kind of some of the advertisements they're already doing. But yeah, I think I just can't see Roman doing more than probably 3 matches the rest of the year. Could be wrong about that, but remember, he's been cast in Street Fighter and all this other stuff, just as Cody has. So I just don't know that we're going to see a very busy schedule for our Tribal Chief here coming up. But we'll see how it plays out. But you got to have him on some shows leading up to SummerSlam, right? There's no question about that, because you got to build everything up for that match. So, all right, let's get into some stuff here, because I know, again, some of you guys were kind of asking questions, chiming in on things. And we'll kind of start with this, Kevin, because I wanted to get to this as well. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest stories coming out of tonight was, Naomi comes out right off the bat, kind of declares her mission statement as the champion, telling the Raw locker room to proceed with caution. And then quickly, Rhea Ripley comes out, IYO SKY comes out, and Adam Pearce makes it the triple threat. So, hey, WWE is batting a high percentage this year on triple threat matches. So I say the more the merrier when it comes to these women's triple threats, because they do not let us down. You go back to, again, what I still think probably, it's tough. I mean, I still think that women's triple threat at WrestleMania is the best match I've seen in WWE this year. I think the Rhea versus IYO match came close last night. I think the Becky, Lyra, Bayley match came close last night. So another triple threat, I would fully expect it to deliver with those 3, because seemingly anytime Rhea and IYO are in the same ring together, it usually works out pretty well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good. And like you mentioned here, I mean, could they end Naomi's reign that quickly? I don't know. That, I think, would be a tough thing. I still like the idea we talked about last night, where you kind of have the setting where Naomi is a champion and Jade is a champion. So if Jade beats Tiffany at SummerSlam, which I would have to think Jade's the favorite in that match, then what do you sort of do if you're Bianca at that point? You're seeing Jade with the title, you're seeing Naomi with the title. How do they kind of tie that into the story? I think I like that better than having Naomi lose right off the bat. And it is a triple threat, so again, you can kind of do what Naomi did last night. You can pin one of the two, and maybe you protect the other, however you want to do it. But I would not have Naomi lose this quickly. I think that, she's obviously built up a lot of momentum, and to me, maybe that is something where Bianca comes in, don't know, but I probably wouldn't have Naomi lose just yet. But remember, the winner will go on, and as Kevin says here too, Stephanie Vaquer is in a pretty good spot to where I think that was something we talked about going into the weekend. If she was going to win the Battle Royal, to me, I'm like, I think she's probably got to win the title. I don't know if you want her losing that one-on-one match because the way they're building her up, I mean, they had her in the ring with Stephanie McMahon, right? Or Steph McMahon, whatever they're referring to her now as. So I've got to think that this is where we're headed. She's going to eventually win the title, but just how does the story play out until then, I don't know. But triple threat SummerSlam should be great. No question. All right. Everybody starting to jump in, more people jumping in, talking about Roman, and lots of stuff. So, I don't, a new faction maybe for Roman. I just don't see that just because of what we talked about. I don't think we can expect this guy to be on TV very much at all moving forward. I think he'll be there for the build to SummerSlam. Then he'll probably be there for the build to Survivor Series if that's the next step for him after that. But I just think we're probably still guys on the 3 to 5 year or 3 to 5 match plan for Roman each year now at most, and that's probably what we're getting because the guy is clearly getting a lot of attention doing other things in Hollywood now and all that kind of stuff. So we unfortunately are out of the Bloodline saga with Roman involved, but we know they've still got Solo's Bloodline going up and all that over on SmackDown, but that's kind of the new thing. I don't even know if we're ever going to get Roman involved in that because I feel like there's really not a need for it unless you decide to do that again, like out of Survivor Series. But I think the way they're building it now, it seems like there's a bunch of different combinations for Survivor Series this year that don't necessarily involve just the Bloodline, even though you could do that match by the time we see who all is on what side, right? As we said, expect Tama Tonga to come back, probably be with Jacob Fatu and Jimmy, but I mean, we think that Jay could eventually get involved in all that now. So there's so many people you can throw into this Bloodline thing, and so we'll see how it goes there. And I know people talked about Zilla Fatu and all that. He could be someone you eventually add to the mix and that stuff. So lots of potential with what you can do with Solo and company right now. I'm just giving the numbers, but I don't know if Roman ever gets involved with that again because he's just kind of, if you're not going to have Roman that often, to me, you want Roman just purely in either high-profile singles matches or, like we said, could you do the tag scenario where it's Roman and Jay teaming up against, two other top talents? That could be something you could do too. So, that's my thinking on that. All right, what else for you guys stood out from Raw? And again, we continue to talk about the Roman Reigns return and everything like that. So keep weighing in with your thoughts on that as well. Let me know what you're thinking. By the way, too, have you guys seen this? I'm going to pull this up right now, actually. And let's see if I can pull this up on the screen for you. This is incredible. I did not know this was a thing, but we'll pull this up on the screen for you to let you see this. So let me share this. There is a new item on WWE Shop right now. And I'm going to show you what that is. So it is, I'm trying to get the image for you guys because I want you to see this. This is wild if you have not seen it already. But here it is. This is the new the Tribal Chief Championship has been released on WWE Shop. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. Obviously, the screen got a little bit smaller there, but I mean that is something right there. The Tribal Chief Championship. I mean that's pretty wild to me. So, man, that is not something that I was expecting to see. But there you go. If you want to buy the Tribal Chief Championship, now available on WWE Shop, and it looks like the first comment I'm seeing is it $600? Is it $500? What is it? But there you have it. If you want to purchase that beauty right there with the undisputed Tribal Chief in the center of the belt, you can have it for what I'm sure is a very reasonable price. So we'll see about that. I don't think I'll be buying one, but if you want one, it's there. All right. let's keep going. What else again stood out? Is it $1,000, Kevin? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll go see if I can find it actually on WWE Shop right now. But if you want the original or whatever it is, they got all the merch out. Look at this. I'm going to pull this up right now actually because I think you guys would appreciate this. So here is your full line of Roman Reigns merch that is currently in the featured spots on WWE Shop. There it is right there. So yeah. There, and that's, you got the Tribal Chief title belt, you got the OTC 1 shirt, you got the OTC 1 tribal shirt, and then you've got the authentic gloves. So the Roman Reigns new OTC 1 collection is now available on WWE Shop. So there you go. Let me know if you're buying anything on that. I don't know if I will be. But all right, let's continue on here. Okay. What else stood out for you guys? Michael asked, what about Sami? Sami Zayn. Yeah, he was brought up by Karrion Kross again tonight. We know Sami's kind of taken out from just, the attacks and all that stuff. But would he come back as the heel run, or is he out indefinitely? Yeah, they're playing up the indefinitely and all that stuff still. And I think, that's just something that's probably going to keep playing out for a little bit. I still think, as I mentioned multiple times, that Sami's probably your favorite to win the Royal Rumble next year. But that's where the Rollins injury also comes into play. If it is a long-term injury, does that change anything? If it is an actual injury, which, again, we'll try to work through tomorrow on a video. I'm hoping to get that out tomorrow. But, yeah, I mean, I think that, to me, I think that Sami heel turn, the stuff with Karrion Kross and all that, it's hard to know. You feel like it's got to happen at some point. But, man, they're really selling the idea to me that everything that's happened to Sami and all this is not, kind of heelish. It's very underdog, comes back, triumphs, wins the title for the first time ever. They've just played it up so many times that Sami has to eventually win this world championship. And I would think next year's WrestleMania is the place to do it. To get there, he probably has to win the Rumble. So, in Saudi Arabia. And that's just my thinking on that. So, I don't know. The heel stuff maybe just been kind of a red herring, but eventually they could get to it as well. But I think maybe have him win the title first. But that's a longer story, like I said, that probably plays out through next April at WrestleMania, if that's where we're going. So, all right. Question here, just quickly to get my thoughts on this. I did weigh on this on Saturday night. Do I think the World Heavyweight Championship match between Gunther and Goldberg was horrible? I did not think it was horrible. I honestly thought it was way better than I expected it to be, especially if you'd have told me going in that match was going to almost go 15 minutes. I would have never thought it would be, quite honestly, as solid as it was. I didn't think it was the greatest match ever by any means, but like for a Goldberg match, I thought it was actually just fine and was probably everything you need it to be for the final match for him. I think he should be happy with the way it ended, but you got to give credit to Gunther for that too, I think. So, all right. So multiple people have asked the OTC 1 thing, and they're asking why is this? So we kind of joked about this last night, I think, or the night before. We've done so many shows and streams and everything the past couple of days. I can't remember. But I said I didn't really understand this whole OTC 1 thing. Because I'm like, if you're the original tribal chief, you're already the number one of that group, right? So, like, do you need to be the original tribal chief 1? It doesn't really go together for me, but you could also just be like, hey, the OTC version 1 or whatever, like, hey, it's an easy merch thing. And you just saw it. I mean, they literally have brought him back with just adding a 1 to the end of his, stuff here, and it's also just for the ones. I mean, that's also something that's pretty easy, but I mean, it's another merch opportunity for WWE. Anytime Reigns returns, he's going to come back with new merch. Sometimes he's going to come back with new theme music, but I think it's really just like that. So, I think that's it. So, and I was asked here, do I think Seth was supposed to cash in at Money in the Bank, or excuse me, Saturday night's main event? Boy, we've watched so much wrestling; it's going to all run together. No, I will tell you my easy thoughts on that. I'm going to save some up for the video I'm doing, but like, I don't think Seth was ever going to cash in at Saturday night's main event. I don't think that was ever in the plans. The question is, was Roman Reigns supposed to return there? But to be completely honest with you, now that I think about how they've done this, I don't know, actually, if maybe that was your plan for Reigns to return there. It seemed like an easy thing to do because it was NBC, it was prime time, but you could also say if you're WWE, you have Goldberg's retirement match. That's kind of the selling point in Atlanta. Did you really need Reigns to return there? or was maybe it always set up to be this way, like you had tonight? So maybe you could have, again, it could have always had him return tonight. And if you had Rollins in the mix, you could have still set up the match between Reigns and Rollins. And so there's just so many moving parts now because of all the conflicting reports on this Rollins thing that it's really hard to know. It seemed pretty predictable going in, but maybe it just simply wasn't as predictable as we thought it was. So I think that's just something we have to consider on that. But I don't think a cash-in, though, was ever going to happen. Because to me, I just don't. You were probably going to save that cash-in for SummerSlam if it was going to happen. So, yeah. All right. Let's get to some other stuff here. By the way, we talked about. I really haven't talked about this much, but what a match between Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. I mean, we mentioned, like, you think about that group of 5 right now. Rhea, and I'm not trying to exclude anyone else. I'm just saying in this whole weekend of things, okay? Rhea Ripley, IYO SKY, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch. Think about the matches that combination of women put on in the past, again, 24 hours, really, right? I mean, Bayley and Lyra had an excellent match tonight, 2 out of 3 falls. Lyra gets the win, and I know Josh is asking why they treating Bayley like the Brooklyn Brawler out there, having her lose these matches. But I just want to point that out first. Like, great triple threat last night, outstanding match tonight. So the women's division is just completely rolling right now. But I don't, obviously I don't know if I'd go that far to say she's being treated like the Brooklyn Brawler. I did expect her to win this match, though. But clearly they want to run it back. They're going to go do Bayley and Lyra again, which is not the worst idea to me because their matches usually are really good. Not to say a Becky versus Bayley wouldn't have been as well to see that again, but I think there's more to the story here. I think, to me, it's still seeing Lyra eventually snap, whether that's on Bayley. Do you do a double turn with Becky? That could be a possibility, although I like Becky in her current role. I don't know if I'd want to see that, to be honest with you. But I think there's something brewing like that, though. And how does Bayley factor into it? I don't know. Maybe for Bayley, it kind of becomes something where she's sort of the person that just kind of helps get the next person to the next level, right? That could be kind of her role, but I don't know. I think Bayley's going to be fine, but clearly they've got this they've got this playing out a certain way that I think is really more about Lyra than anyone else, and maybe we have to see that play out before we really know what we're going to get with Bayley long term. And, Bayley could be factored into some of the other stuff. You could put her, I'd like to see her with something like a Julie or something, right? If you're trying to elevate a title like that a bit, you can put Bayley in there, have an opportunity. I know it feels like a step down, but like we said, I mean, this women's division, there's so many potential options right now that when you have your Julias and Stephanie Vickers and, all these other women, Roxanne Perez and all these others that have just been on the rise, you're going to have Blake Monroe coming up from NXT at some point. Jordan Grace is going to come up at some point. I've mentioned the other NXT talents I think that are standing out right now. So Ruka, Jada Parker, Lash Legend, like all these, like they are just loaded with kind of the next in line for the women's division. And I think that's just naturally they're going to keep people in different spots like a Bayley sometimes that maybe just has to sort of give way to that. And she's still doing an excellent job. She's still having really good matches. Again, to me, she was part of one of the top 5 matches of the year. I thought that triple threat match last night in WWE, that was the top 5 match of the year to me. And so, yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that's just kind of where we are. So with that, but I think Bayley will be fine. All right, let's see what else we've got here. By the way, I appreciate the comment here from Sean. Yeah, hey, appreciate it, the content. Yeah, I've done more live stuff here the past 3 days than we've probably done the past 3 months, but I told you guys having a little one running around, it's just sort of, hey, my schedule, there's an ebb and flow with it sometimes. Sometimes I can kind of have this run we've been on. We've had a lot of live streams the past several days. Sometimes it'll be just videos, but as I mentioned to you guys earlier, I really am putting a focus on trying to do much more stuff on the podcast feed when I can't just set up the video and get all this stuff going. I'm trying just to do some quick sort of audio stuff and all that. So again, make sure you're following on any podcast app you're using. Search for Wrestling Reaction there. I'll put the link again to the Apple there for you guys that use that. But yeah, follow on the podcast feed because I will post pretty much everything we do on the YouTube channel, but also I will post some exclusive audio stuff there that sometimes I just don't have a chance to set up the video and all that, and I'll just do kind of some quick thoughts on the audio side as well. And we're also considering kind of a new, as we've teased, a sort of weekly show where kind of long form in nature, we kind of discuss the week and kind of have some fun stuff within that. So hopefully you guys will want that, want to be a part of it. Let me know if you do in the chat, if you'd appreciate something like that. I know everyone listens to their own podcasts that are long form out there. There's thousands in the wrestling space, but if you guys would enjoy something like that, let me know. But I appreciate the kind words there, Sean. So, okay, I'm going to keep going down through your questions. Again, to make sure I get to your question, it would be a super chat to make sure I don't miss it. So let me kind of keep going through this on that to make sure I don't miss anything. So some of you actually left some comments 5+ minutes ago. I'm going back, kind of starring these right now so I can come back and address them. But anything else on Raw that stood out, you guys let me know. I will get to this one from Michael real quick, and then we will get to some other comments as well. So I know I'm going to be about 5-6 minutes behind on some of these, but I'm trying to make sure I catch as many as I can. AJ Styles, Dom at SummerSlam for the IC title. Yes, I think they're clearly setting that up. Next week, Adam Pearce said Dom is going to get the evaluation from the doctor again. What's the doc going to say? Is Dominik going to be cleared to wrestle? You got old man AJ Styles over there praying to the gods that Dominik is ready to go. I think he will be. I think we're getting AJ versus Dominik, and that's another one that I think would be pretty intriguing. I think if you were to put the title on AJ, I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for that Intercontinental Championship. Not that Dom hasn't been Dom, but I would actually like to see AJ win the title and see where they go from there. So, yeah, I think we'll see. So, Rob brought this up. It's a good point. I wrote this down in my notes. Yeah, Heyman just dropping the Easter eggs, talking about the big dog, the next big thing, how it was his yard and all that. Heyman was letting us know, as we kind of figured Reigns was coming back, but little Brock Lesnar drop in there. That was interesting. Do I think WWE's going to have Roxanne seduce Dominik? I mean, that's kind of, it seems like the way they're going to eventually play it up, right? Once you get closer to Liv's return, you're clearly going to have kind of that territorial nature of Roxanne will be doing something, maybe to cheer up Dom after he loses the title. Maybe the chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, maybe she loads up on those. Maybe there are other activities that Roxanne and Dom could engage in. But I think you're clearly looking at, obviously a scenario where eventually when Liv comes back, that's going to be the story. And that's going to be a big match, really, because I think Roxanne's been great in this role so far. She's adjusted just fine. And, yeah, I think they're going to be tremendous whenever they get into that story when Liv does return down the line. So Kevin says, I noticed the new channel logo updated recently. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't love it, and I might actually change it again. I've changed the podcast feed logo and all that. I'm not good at this stuff when it comes to making logos and everything. So I'm not going to lie to you. I called up my friend's ChatGPT and got some help and eventually kind of molded it into what I liked. So I don't love it though. So I might end up changing again, Kevin. So don't be surprised if you show up on your YouTube subs and you see the logo has changed yet again, which I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get it right, but I at least try to give it a shot sometimes. All right, T-Rob's here. I appreciate T-Rob. He's a member of the Tribal Chiefs, which is kind of fitting. Remember, if you do want to join the channel, you can join the Tribal Chiefs along with T-Rob. He is a valuable member. And again, I'll put the link to that in the comments, and we'll kind of discuss again. If you want bonus content, T-Rob's getting it, and I know T-Rob wants me to say Roll Tide, so I'll say that for him. There, Roll Tide. It was in Birmingham tonight, so a lot of Roll Tides in the building, I suppose. There, T-Rob. But so we'll see. Okay, let's see what we're going to here. Yeah, Sean weighing in on the Becky thing, or excuse me, the Bayley thing. Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see. I'm just not sure where they go with Bayley after this, but maybe they have something else in mind. We'll find out. But yes, finally back. He is finally back. Cena, he came back ready to go. And so, yeah, we were talking about it earlier. The tag match. Do I think it's a tag or the one-on-one? I mean, to me, it seems like they were setting up the tag, but they have still, it's 2 nights. I could see the one-on-ones, but that card, as we mentioned, is really starting to get pretty loaded up now with all the matches they've announced over the past 72 hours. And so, I don't know, if you add those 2 more matches, that to me, Reigns versus Breakker is a huge match. Jay versus Bronson Reed is a good match. And so I think it's just, do you want to do one or do you want to combine them together? I think that's the question. And don't know. We'll see. T-Rob also chiming in, thinking that the Seth thing is we're getting worked. I'll give you my thoughts on a video tomorrow on that. I'm not sure. So, all right. Hey, shout out here, $10 super chat. I appreciate this. To you, off the wall question. Surprising with Lash Legend being in the final 2 of the Battle Royal last night. You think they would have a push for her soon, or was that just off chance that happened? So, one of the reasons you could certainly say, well, it was Atlanta, it's her hometown. You want to give her a good showing, get her down to the final 2, which I think was definitely a good thing to do. But I do think they clearly see something though in her being kind of someone that they can continue to develop, I feel like, and put in a position where she's ready to go on the main roster. I don't know. What's that timeline look like, right? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Something like that. I mean, it's definitely, a year is probably too long. I think she's probably up before that on the main roster. But remember, too, we can't forget that they were using her in those, the tag team matches with Jakara Jackson and all that before she got released. And they were using them on the main roster. And I said at the time, I said, hey, this is a team that's kind of growing on me. And, obviously, I think when they made the decision to split them up, because you did have, obviously, a release coming, I mean, that was probably knowing that you were going to push Lash Legend as a future singles type star. And so I don't think it was necessarily just a coincidence or just a one-time thing. I think they clearly see something in her to feel like, hey, she's come a long way. And I mentioned that kind of the trajectory of her career. I can remember the online reaction to her whenever she first started. Certainly an athlete coming into pro wrestling and seeing how you adapt, and there's so many things you have to learn. And I just think she's gotten so much better, and she is, again, become someone who can really hold her own, and the power and just the skill and those things. I'm excited to see what they do with her, at some point in the future. But hey, I appreciate the super chat. I really do. Again, that supports the channel, allows me to do more of these for you guys, more live streams and such. And again, I know we've kind of gotten away from those recently, but I enjoy these more than just the normal videos, even though, as you guys know, the normal videos certainly get a lot more views and stuff, but I like this better. I like the interaction and talking to you guys about everything. So, all right. Brian weighing in, always a regular here. I think Seth hurt. He thinks Seth is really hurt. Don't think he's selling it. I don't know, man. I've gone back and forth on this. I'll share my thoughts tomorrow. Hopefully if I get this video done by tomorrow. So that's my plan. All right, let's see. I know we're asking about WWE going to go back to TV 14. I don't think they're even in a position where it kind of is even kind of a necessary thing. I feel like they kind of lean into that already a bit and don't really have to just sort of say it's PG or anything. Because, I mean, look, let's be honest. Some of the stuff they do is not PG at all. Clearly I think that's just kind of a scenario where it just doesn't fit that mold of what it was. But, I don't know. I don't think they're ever going back right now. I feel like it's kind of more in that middle where you definitely have some TV 14 stuff on the show. You definitely have some PG stuff. And it's probably not as definitive as it used to be because it doesn't have to be just based on all their sponsorships and everything like that. So, all right. Michael asks here as we'll continue this too. And remember, anything else you want to talk about from Raw, jump on in. We're not going to, as we always say, not going to go move for move, but we will kind of talk about some other stuff here in a second on the show that maybe I'm forgetting. I'm pulling up my notes here now to make sure we kind of hit on some of the other stuff, but not a lot, I think, noteworthy outside of what we've already mentioned. Do I think Ricky Saints or Oba Femi would get a call up to go against Breakker as potential opponents? I mean, listen, sign me up for Oba Femi versus Bron Breakker a year from now. That's a future main event on a PLE. There's no question about that. WWE's hoping that's a future WrestleMania main event, probably, when you think about kind of where these two guys are at and what they can be. So, Ricky Saints, that's the thing, too, is with the way he lost to Ethan Page at Great American Bash, it seemed like that was the perfect time to put Ricky Saints up on the main roster. I'd kind of already predicted that I thought he was going to come up after SummerSlam. But once again, guess what? This is all dependent on Rollins. It's just, there's so many things that I don't know now until we get what we feel like is a definitive answer, which we did not get tonight on this show about Rollins. But I'll talk more about it tomorrow, hopefully, if I get the video done. I keep saying tomorrow. I'm going to also add in Wednesday. One of the two, I will get it done one of the 2 days. All right. So just quickly before we get into anything else, and I'll probably jump off here in about 10 minutes or so. Depends on what else you guys want to talk about. But I'm just going to run through everything else that happened kind of on Raw just quickly. So you did have Roxanne and Raquel. They got the win over Asuka and Kairi Sane. Tag team match action there. We talked about it. Heyman sort of saying he doesn't have the update on Rollins. The 2 out of 3 falls match was great, in my opinion. There's so many B's here. Becky, Bayley, we just talked about so many reads. Bron, but Bayley losing to Lyra Valkyria, great 2 out of 3 falls. 2 out of 3 falls match. I would definitely check that out if you guys did not get a chance to watch the show tonight. That is a must-see match, no question, just like the Gauntlet match in the main event. You had kind of the stuff where Stephanie Vaquer made the save for Nikki Bella. I could see a tag team match there. Certainly them teaming up against Piper Niven and Alba Fire based on the stuff they're doing with Chelsea Green. So I could see that coming here pretty soon. As we mentioned, Karrion Kross kind of taunting Sami Zayn, saying he's not going to come back until he tells the truth and all those things. It seems like we're getting something next week on the tag team titles. New Day is going to be part of it. Adam Pearce kind of teased that. They'll have an opportunity to earn a title match next week to go up against Finn Balor and JD McDonough. And it sounds like we're getting the rematch with Rusev and Sheamus. I'm fine with that. Those two will beat the hell out of each other again. And again, Gunther was Gunther on the mic. He was tremendous. And obviously that sets up his match with Punk at SummerSlam. So there you go. All right. So I know Jaden asked, do I think Jay could turn on Roman for never apologizing? Yeah, that's a good point. We still haven't gotten that. But I just don't think you can turn Jay at any point anytime soon. I think we're not there yet with Jay. I just don't. We're not. Like, he is just such a, still without the title, Jay is just such a big mover of merchandise and all that I just think they would be not in a good position if they decided to turn Jay. He's a very valuable member of the roster, without question. So think what you want about the in-ring stuff and all that, right? We know there's a lot of opinions on that, but yeah, he's still such a valuable member. Blake, great name, if I do say so myself. Saying that he thinks Seth got hurt on the original move before the backflip. So that was something else too, where people were talking about, kind of the move before the move may have been the one. So yeah, that's the thing on that, if you were kind of looking at it from the Seth Rollins injury standpoint. All right, so let's talk about some other stuff here. And talking about John Cena and him saying he did say shit on the pipe bomb live, didn't he? So yeah, that was something. All right, so this was from earlier, and I forgot to bring this up. But what are they going to do with Cody? He has to win, right? Also, who is next for Cena after SummerSlam? Well, we did talk about yesterday, and I gave you my thoughts that I think that there was a report out there that said that the final opponent for Cena is going to be Gunther, which I said I am 100% on board with, because that was one of the original opponents that I said I was probably looking forward to the most. And I actually, at one point last year, I think, gave you a video on why I thought Gunther should be Cena's WrestleMania opponent this year. Cena's final WrestleMania, playing up the sports entertainment, John Cena versus the professional wrestler and Gunther. I think it is the perfect way to send Cena out, because that story right there sells itself. It's sort of the lasting, defining legacy of John Cena. Sports entertainment, professional wrestler, right? Like, it's that kind of stuff. And I think you can do so much with Gunther and how great he is on the mic. I think that should be his final opponent. But does Cody have to win? That, I think, is an interesting question, because I think this is one where I am not sold that Cody has to win this yet. I think that you may, in fact, there is an argument that if Cody does win, it's worse for Cody from a fan sentiment standpoint, unless the idea is that you are going to eventually make that turn with Cody. And I know some people have said, well, is this where the final boss finally makes his return? I am never predicting anything with the final boss, The Rock. I have no idea when this guy's coming back. But in all seriousness, could that happen? Sure. I just don't know if I completely think that's going to happen, because I just, again, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And we were fooled at WrestleMania 41 when it came to The Rock. Instead, we got Fiend, and you guys know the rest. But I I will give you my thoughts on that match. I'm curious to see. We know we're having the face-to-face on SmackDown on Friday. Or excuse me, they're going to be under one roof, under the same roof, Cody and John Cena. I'm curious to see how they kickstart this thing. Because as I said, they're clearly in a position where I think the fans would absolutely turn on Cody. I think there is a scenario where they could turn on Cody and cheer Cena based on what they've been doing, the Night of Champions ending and all that stuff. Yes, could have a double turn be in play. It may not be something they even want, but the fans may do it anyways because they want to kind of see this newer version of Cena that started to come back out versus Cody using, as we mentioned, some of the more heel tactics to beat Randy Orton in the King of the Ring final. There's a lot at stake in this match, not just for the championship itself, but I think just the story moving forward. There's a lot that WWE has to get right with this, and so yeah, I'm curious to see what happens on that because Cena's going to go out as the guy that's getting cheered, especially if it's against Gunther. But I just the Cody thing has just gotten more and more interesting to me. So you're definitely going to have some boos for Cody at SummerSlam. No matter what the story is, he's going to get some boos, and he may get a lot of boos at SummerSlam. So we'll find out. All right, let's keep going here through anything else. Yeah, as I said, we kind of, and I'm going to look at it here too. So the updated card as it stands right now, I'm going to pull this up now. So your updated SummerSlam card coming out of Raw. As we said, you're going to add the Raw matches to the mix. Naomi versus IYO SKY versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. You've got Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Becky versus Lyra for the Women's Intercontinental title. You've got Cena versus Cody for the Undisputed title. You have Tiffany versus Jade for the WWE Women's title. And you have the one you've all been waiting for. Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Those are all set for SummerSlam right now. My predictions on what else is going to be added, as we said, you're clearly going to have something, whether it's Reigns and Jay versus Bron, or it's going to be Reigns versus Breakker, Jay versus Reed, some combination. Those four are getting added to the card. And you're also getting Aleister Black versus Damian Priest. That will get added. And what else am I forgetting on that? That seems like pretty much the stuff they've been putting in motion. Maybe you get something with the SmackDown tag titles. You got the Wyatt Six as the new champions. Maybe you do something there. Could they do some sort of gauntlet match as well, given all the tag teams? Andrade and Rey Fenix have kind of been a little bit more interesting added to the mix. But, you've also got to find room for what does LA Knight do? What does Penta do? Like all these guys, right? Like still, you've got to figure out what you're going to do with some of your top stars. And it's a 2-night SummerSlam and all that. So, yeah, you still got to figure out how to get some of these guys on the card. But it's starting to fill up. Right now, like you've got basically one night filled up, right? If you want to do 6 or 7 matches each night, which I would think. I don't think you want to cap it at 5 on each night. We saw that with WrestleMania. I think you want to get a little higher than that. Let's say you do at least 6 on each night. Probably 7 on 1 or 2 of them. But, yeah, I think, you're looking at an idea where you still got quite a few that you can add, but space is limited now when we look at it. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm more curious to see what they do with people like LA Knight and such, what they have in store for them on this show. Because I think you want them on there. But we'll see. All right. A couple more things, guys. I'm going to hop off because, again, I want to kind of make sure I can start working on this Rollins video and all that. But no guarantees it'll be tomorrow. That's my plan, but we'll see. And remember, too, if you are hopping in, or before you hop out, actually is what I want to say, be sure, subscribe button, like button, all that good stuff. Also, as I mentioned, follow me on X/Twitter if you want more thoughts, and you can see some of my writing stuff over there as well that I do, in the wrestling space. So you can check all that out also. I appreciate you guys. All right. What I think about the build to SummerSlam, it's come together fast, hasn't it? Like I said, really, in the past 3 days, we've kind of gotten the entire card, pretty much, minus, 1 or 2 matches? So, yeah, the entire card has kind of been built, half a card, as we said. Really, for one night, seems like it's in place, but we'll see what else they continue to add. But, I mean, the build itself, it's just, I don't know if it's a problem. Sometimes it is, but there are just so many shows you have to build to in such a short amount of time. We mentioned it last night. The Evolution build, I just do not think was that great. But the show delivered, and it was the best WWE show this year. And for that reason, the build sometimes may not be the best because they have so many shows they're doing. I don't think it can be perfect every time. And so this, though, is a 2-night SummerSlam. And so I think they knew, hey, we got to get as many of these matches out there as early as possible, right? And that's why you've seen all these matches get announced this quickly, because you've still, you want to sell some more tickets. It's a 2-night thing, and you want to give the people, their money's worth. It's the first 2-night SummerSlam. If this doesn't work, then there becomes questions, well, can you keep doing it this way? And WWE never wants to go backwards, right? So they want to be able to make SummerSlam a 2-night event forever now. And so you've got to get it right, though. And I think, the build, you have to get these matches out. You have to start promoting them and all that. And so we still got a little time, but I think there's clearly a reason they've thrown as many of these matches together and kind of went as far as they have the past little bit to make sure they get this card out there this quickly. So, all right. A good idea here, too, for Michael. Are we going to see the Lucha Bros? They're going to reunite. Do you do Penta and Phoenix, perhaps? But, but Andrade and Rey Fenix have a lot of momentum right now on SmackDown. They've had some great matches together as a team. Not going to say it's a surprising thing, but they've been really good. I don't know if you want to break them up just yet. So, but maybe eventually you've got to do it to get Penta and Phoenix back together. Shout out to Right Hand Cam, also a member of the Tribal Chiefs. Probably holding up the ones as well tonight for the OTC one. Roman Reigns. But appreciate Cam, long time here at the channel. Been supporting it for a while, and going to give Raw a 9.5 out of 10. It was a good show. I thought, knowing, again, what we were kind of expecting with Reigns to return, and the Bayley Lyra match was tremendous. And, yeah, just had a lot of good, I think, sort of advancement with the storylines and setting up Punk Gunther. By the way, I didn't really mention this earlier, but they made Bron Breakker just look like an absolute beast tonight. I mean, he started the gauntlet, ran all the way to the end against Punk. And so, yeah, I mean, Breaker's just a beast. So he's the future, and that Seth Rollins versus Bron Breakker feud eventually is gonna hit like no other once we get there, whenever that is. So, but appreciate you, Right Hand Cam, as always, for supporting the channel. And on the way out, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a challenge here. So I did this today on Twitter, and I want to know what you think. So I did my updated WWE PLE rankings for 2025 after Evolution last night. And I am including NXT shows on that, which, again, I know we don't always do a lot of NXT stuff here, but that is going to be a lot more kind of bonus stuff for members. So if you do want to join the membership, you'll get a lot more of my NXT thoughts moving forward, and also on the podcast feed as well. But if you want to know my updated PLE rankings for 2025, are you ready? I'm going to count them down from 5. And surprisingly, only 2 main roster ones are on here. At number 5, I've still got Worlds Collide. I think that was kind of such a unique show. Of course, Mr. Iguana stole the show there, but it was more than that. Chad Gable versus Vikingo. That was one that I thought was just such a such a good match, and that's why it sucks to have Chad Gable out of the mix right now. But yeah, I think, clearly you'd love to get him back because he was so good on that show. But I thought that was just really good. Stephanie Vaquer was on that one too. He just had some good matches. The North American title match was good and all that. So Worlds Collide at 5. At 4, I've got one that feels like forever ago now, but it was NXT Vengeance Day. If you remember, you go all the way back to, what was that, February. All the way back to February, NXT Vengeance Day. You had Stephanie Vaquer had a great match against Fallon Henley on that show. Ethan Page and Javon Evans had a good match. Oba Femi won that triple threat against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. And then you had the 4-way match for the NXT Women's title, where it was Julia getting the win over Bayley. Sorry again for Bayley. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. That was a really good show. So that was at 4 for me. And at 3, NXT Stand and Deliver. Tremendous. Better than WrestleMania 41. In my opinion, overall, just a great show. That men's triple threat was awesome. And yeah, I thought that was really good with Oba Femi, Trick, and Javon Evans. So that's number 3. At number 2, Elimination Chamber. Can't go wrong with Elimination Chamber. I said last night I forgot about it. I had to go back and just remember everything that happened in Elimination Chamber. Of course, I remember the Cena turn, but everything else. But yeah, I mean, the 2 chamber matches were great, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn was great. So yeah, I thought Elimination Chamber definitely was at the top until last night, when I now, in my updated rankings, moved Evolution to number 1. So Evolution, to me, through July 14th, the number one PLE this year for WWE, and probably one of the best ones in a good while. No question about it. So, yeah, tremendous stuff. Go back and watch it if you didn't last night. Check out the stuff we did on the channel, and we will see what happens moving forward. And by the way, I just saw the price on the Roman Reigns championship belt. $600 for the Roman Reigns Tribal Chief Championship. It can now be yours at WWE Shop. $600. All right, hey, go buy it if you can. But I don't know if I'll be purchasing that one just yet. Depends on how many super chats you guys give me over the next little bit. But in all seriousness, I appreciate you guys hopping in as always. As I mentioned, be sure to check out everything else on the channel. We'll try to do as many of these as we can. SmackDown, usually on Friday nights, doing a reaction show is just not likely. But you guys know I still usually give you a video on the weekends. But we are going to start to do more live stuff. I'm working on that sort of weekly show. If you want a weekly show, let me know in the chat. If you want a little bit more of a long-form discussion where we kind of talk about topics from the week, and I give you some thoughts on some other stuff as well. Outside of WWE, with NXT, AEW, and so forth, if you want my thoughts on that, you want more of a weekly show, let me know, and I would love to do that. But it's all depending on what you guys want here at the channel. All right, on the way out, another $5 super chat. Appreciate you again, man. With Naomi and Jade both having matches at SummerSlam, what does WWE do with Bianca? Well, we know, too, Bianca has had that injury, right? And that's why she wasn't on Evolution as a competitor. So I wonder, at least right now, you've got to think that probably puts her out of SummerSlam still. Maybe she comes back after that. But, you know, you've got to have her there in some sort of way, right? Because it's Bianca. So you've got to have her on there somewhere. I would think that's where, you know, maybe Bianca's ringside or something, right? Somehow she gets tied into this Jade Tiffany Stratton thing and all that. Maybe that's what happens. But I would think you've got to have Bianca there in some combination. And that's where, too, you know, let's say Jade wins. Does Naomi come out? Is Bianca out there? Like, you've got the two champions. Like I mentioned, this sort of an interesting dynamic if that's the case. So I'd like to see something like that. But Bianca's got to be on there somewhere. I agree with you. Like, she's got to be on there. But I don't know if she's ready to wrestle yet, because I don't know if you want to rush her into anything if it's not Jade or Naomi, which it's not going to be. So maybe kind of hold off on Bianca, but I do think she needs to be there, maybe up close and personal, seeing Jade win the title, or maybe she's there and you know, something with Naomi or something like that. I think I like that idea. But I do appreciate the super chats. And Josh says, bro, get some sleep. Yeah, I got to. I don't know how much wrestling I've watched since Saturday, going back to SmackDown on Friday, right? But it's been a lot. So, but you guys, I appreciate your support again of the channel. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for you guys joining the membership as well for the bonus content. And again, hopefully we can do more of these live streams here moving forward and do a lot more fun stuff as well here on the channel. Check out all the other stuff I kind of plugged earlier, the podcast feed, the membership, and I'll drop the link to Twitter again if you want to follow me there. Have some fun discussion with some of you guys already each day. So jump on there, have some chats, and we'll talk about everything WWE and more in professional wrestling. Roman Reigns is back, the OTC one. Throw up your ones on the way out, and go spend your $600 on the new Tribal Chief Championship at WWEshop.com. All right, guys. I appreciate you as always. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon here at Wrestling Reaction.